Check 1 2. Check 1 2. Check 1 2. Hey everyone, this is Derrick Broze with the Conscious Resistance Network. Let me know if you can hear me okay. I am streaming live for the first time in 5.5 months from inside my RV. For those of you who don't know, I've moved into my RV recently and I'm continuing my work from here as I transition, doing a little bit of traveling and continuing to spread the word. So just give me a thumbs up. Let me know in the comments if you can hear me coming through okay. I think we're going to be live maybe for the next hour or so. If you're just getting this, please share it out with your other friends and supporters of this network. I do want to welcome join the channel in the past couple months because I haven't done a live episode since May. So it's been going for a while. It's been, I've been busy for a little while now, working on the campaign and working on other things. And if it does buffer, just be patient. It should come back. Hopefully everything will be all right. But yeah, so we're going to be covering topics that I've got written down for today. And again, I want to welcome all the new subscribers who've been coming in the last few months. Mainly it seems behind my Jeffrey Epstein work that's coming behind the Finders work. And many of you have been following the channel for some months, so you know that we've been ahead of the curve when it comes to Epstein and the Finders and things of that sort. Again, if it is buffering, just refresh. It seems to be coming back, I think. Unless it's totally just dead, then let me know. But we've got lots more followers coming in and tuning in. And so I'm excited to be back to doing live shows. I'm trying to do this every Friday, but as some of you who are long-term listeners know, it's usually Friday, Saturday, whatever's convenient. I'm not going to stress about it, but sometime Friday or Saturday in the evening or in the afternoon like this. And, it's important to get out information. This also gives me a chance to kind of go over some of the news that you might have heard me covering, but haven't had a chance to dive deep into. Some of the topics we're going to talk about today, just to give you a preview before we get started, is that it's been 3 years since I went in Rock. 3 years since that whole event, and I know some of you were following me back then in 2016, and we'll talk about that, talk about what I feel like has been gained now, what we have learned in that time, all this sort of information. So we're going to talk about that. We will talk about, I saw somebody mention Tulsi Gabbard a moment ago talking about Jeffrey Epstein. I didn't know about the story I've been wanting to do for a while, where she was talking about 9/11 and the first responders and Saudi Arabia, and really just being one of the only voices that's talking about this important topic. So we're going to cover that. And then I want to talk about the concept of decentralized environmentalism is what I'm calling it, because I've been covering some of the, let's say environmental movement that is promoting the Smart Grid Agenda 2030, promoting more government and things of that sort. I'm trying to get you guys to understand that there is a way to talk about environmentalism and the planet. We empower it in a decentralized, voluntary way that doesn't have to involve growing the state. So we're going to talk a little bit about that, what I'm calling decentralized environmentalism. And then also one topic that we'll just go ahead and get into I'll just let you guys check it out. I don't want to buffer my computer any more than it might at the moment. But if you want to check out a new playlist on our YouTube channel, it's called Stream of Consciousness, and it's basically just the list of videos that I've done over the years. I think it came out to be about a dozen or so, maybe more than that, on this playlist that I added. And these are videos that I've done since 2015. Some of them, go a bit further, that are literally just me talking off the top of my dome. Just there's 24 videos, just literal stream of consciousness videos. And most of them focus on empowerment and focus on positivity and things of that sort. So for those who want to plug into that, I know many of you enjoy my news reports and my keeping up with current events. But I also know that some of you actually prefer and are more interested in the videos that talk about is humanity's collective consciousness evolving? The insatiable desire to help the world. These are a few of the things that make me happy. This is not for entertainment purposes only. My struggles with self-control, on fitting in, just how are you designing your life? These type of things. Part of the solution. This is what the conscious resistance is about. That's why I made that video the other day. And I hope for those of you who didn't watch it, because again, I know most of y'all, you will absolutely jump an Epstein video, a Finder's video, before you will, click something that says, here's a solution to make you happier and to make you feel better about yourself. Like, oh, I don't want to feel better. I don't got time for that. I'd rather be angry about the pedophiles in the world and just obsess about that. That's what I talk about, the infotainment, the conspiratainment. And I think that's kind of garbage, but hey, you choose to do what you want. So, stream of consciousness and empowerment playlist on YouTube. It's where it can be found. I'll let you guys go through that. And I went back through my work. I recommend one. If you want to check out one, go all the way back to that list and you can see Derrick Broze from 2014, 2015 when I got some different, and there's a couple. There's one called Bodhisattva Activism, and I don't want to repeat everything I said in that video, but if you've never heard of the concept of a bodhisattva, which comes from Buddhism, and you consider yourself an activist, I definitely recommend checking that out. And for those of you also who've never heard me talk about holistic activism or holistic anarchism, I recommend that you go back and check out my speeches that I've given on these topics, because this is the core of my work. It's not, I'm a journalist, and because of my past 2 summers touring the US, doing lots of speaking, meeting some of you awesome people, I wasn't able to constantly work on journalism. So when I came back from being on the road, I was just ready to get back to journalism, and that's why I dove into the Finders and everything, and I've been doing lots of videos, and then the kind of campaign made me take a break. But my point is, I try to balance my work between the philosophical, the empowerment, the spiritual, the awareness building, as well as information, corruption exposing journalistic work. I think it's all important. So check out the Bodhisattva Activism one on Consciousness playlist if you want to get more of that. Another thing I want to let you guys know, if you are not aware, we are doing a crowdfunding campaign for the rest of this month, I think. Maybe it's only a few days left. And this is basically me saying, look, if you believe in my work, I am asking you to invest in my work. Invest either via Patreon or via something else, whatever you're comfortable with. The whole point is that I need you to help support me so that I can produce these documentaries. I'm going to show you in a moment what I've been working on. You guys saw my video I put out talking about going into the forest. I went up to the Sam Houston National Forest just north of Houston. Houston's a big-ass metropolis, but we're also surrounded by forests. So lots of beauty around, and I went up there, and I kind of going back and forth between there and my friend's houses and back into the city and things like that. But I went there, and I'm going to continue to go there until this book is done, until this script's done, to work on documentary. And I'm so thankful to everybody who has helped boost the Finders up almost to 100,000 views, who has boosted the Jeffrey Epstein documentary to over 600,000 views, who has boosted my first 5G video from back in October to over 900,000 views. This is just awesome stuff that I'm so thankful for you guys for. That me keep reaching more people, and that's what it's about. And so I want to continue to do this. I want to continue documentaries like this. I want to continue to produce, all the important work that is necessary. But because of the type of work, the reality is there's not necessarily going to be outlets that want to talk about the topics that I want to talk about. So I need your help, your investment. And you can do that through this page right here, fundraiser.com/theconsciousresistance3. I'll put the link in there. We have 2 days left in this, about two full. Want to throw anything in this? Whatever is raised is basically going to go to pay for the editor, for the documentary, the 5G documentary. And while we're talking about it, why don't I just show you guys the script so you know that you can maybe get a little preview of what exactly you might be investing in and paying for, right? Because the whole thing is, I want a transparent, independent media outlet for you. I want to be somebody that you can count on, that if there's a topic that needs to be researched and investigated, the community can come together and we can work on that, and you guys can help fund that, and I can spend my time and my energy editing, writing, doing all the appropriate work to make it happen, and then find amazing editors who are doing great video work that I'm just personally not capable of, and making my words and my investigation shine. So that's kind of what it's about. So again, if you want to invest, we have this link right here. Right here. Support the Conscious Resistance #3. I'm going to post that link in the chat real quick, if you guys don't mind. I'm going to give you guys, before we get into the news, I'm going to give you a quick tour of my RV. I mentioned to some of you, or you've heard me talk about that, I'm living in the RV now. So if you want to check that out, just a moment. But here is the script. Let me zoom in a little bit. The script for the 5G documentary that I'm working on, called The 5G Trojan Horse, research written and narrated by myself, produced and edited by, I'll announce the editors very soon. So we have basically a table of contents, and I've been working on this the past few days and putting the script together. Introduction, first the introduction, who I am in my past year researching this topic and working on it. The introduction we'll just cover kind of that whole basic ground. Then we'll introduce electromagnetic spectrum and 5G and explain those topics. Then we'll get into the concerns of electromagnetic fields and electromagnetic frequency and 5G, including the health, the privacy, the local, and the environmental. The next chapter will be the big wireless 5G. We'll talk about the history of FCC regulation, the Harvard Captured Agency study, the Motorola War Games documents, and we'll talk about who the CTIA lobby for the wireless companies, how they're using the 5G Wireless Champion Awards to, basically get cities like Houston in line with their smart city agenda, which is a part of the Agenda 2030 plan. And then finally, we get solutions, talk about rewiring, unplugging, and skepticism towards the technology and these people in general. And this is the script that I've been working on. So while I have been taking a break from videos, this is just what I'm working on, guys. I'm out here kicking ass, and I don't have any sort of advance from a company to write a book or write a documentary. I'm doing this because I think it's important, necessary information. And so my supporters, and to invest in the Conscious Resistance network right now as we're running this crowdfunding campaign for 2 more days. All right, that's it. I'm going to shut up about that. I appreciate you guys being willing to even consider investing in the work we do here and that our team does here, and finding some value in it. But that's what I'm working on next. I'm really excited about that, to share the documentary with you guys. And talk all about that soon. I hope this is coming through. I'm trying my best to do this this live stream here, guys. I am living in my RV. I live in an RV now as of the past 2 weeks or so, and I'm on a Wi-Fi network that's kind of right next to me, so it should be working, but it's not hardwired in like I usually do my podcast, my live shows. So if it's not working right now, we're gonna have to figure out something for future broadcasts. But for those who can see and hear me, I'm gonna give you just a little bit of a preview into my situation here, my RV situation. So here is the laptop that I'm working on. Let's see if you guys can actually see this. Here's my laptop. Here's my RV window that's outside. My kitchen over there. Give you a little preview. There's my smoothie from this morning. There's the front. It's a wreck here. All right, you can see out the window. And right here, let me show you this. This box that right here is filled with a generator, little battery. See, it's got 35% of life left. This plugs into solar panels, and right now this is charging my laptop. So I'm basically working kind of as much off the grid as possible with the laptop here, my microphone right here, and chilling out here on a sunny day in Houston, just working. So this is what I'm doing. I'm basically being an RV nomad for the time being, and I'm okay with it. I love it. I'm actually very much enjoying it, and just wanted to give you an awareness of what I'm doing. I know some of you have been following my journey and my work for a while now. So in the RV, my plan is to continue to renovate this. I did renovate it with a couple of friends, so obviously I can live in it, but we're going to go over there and do some more work on it. So I'd like to get it to work more with solar. I want to build some kind of studio, maybe back here, things of that sort, so I can keep broadcasting, and we'll have to figure out the whole internet, the Wi-Fi situation soon. But that's what's going on. And now for those of you who actually came here to hear some freaking news, let's get into that. Thanks, guys, for tuning in and for hanging out as long as you can. Just a couple of main stories that I wanted to cover. For one, I wanted to say again, it's been 3 years since I went to Standing Rock. And I know that there are folks out there who think that George Soros is behind everything. And so there was people at the time that I spoke with who were, the whole thing is being organized by George Soros. It's, just meant to divide people, and it's just that whole thing. George Soros does fund a lot of different movements, and lots of different people do. It's not just the left wing that's funding movements. You got the Koch brothers and other people who are trying to influence world of. But I went to Standing Rock 3 different times in 2016, and it's crazy to believe that was 3 years ago. 3 different times. I went in August 2016. I went in October 2016, and then December 2016. Things were starting to wrap up. Galactic, can I do away? Look, Galactic, if you want to donate and you don't want to use fundraiser, you can just go to the PayPal link that is below the video description. You can also, if anybody wants to hit me up on PayPal, it's intothelight@protonmail.com, intothelight@protonmail.com. You can do a donation through friends or family, that kind of way. Yeah. But I went to Standing Rock, and I went because as a Native person and somebody who cares about issues as a journalist, I felt like this is somewhere I wanted to be. I wanted to make sure that I could stand up and represent this issue that I knew wasn't going to get proper coverage all the way till late December when I went the 3rd time. It was pretty much ignored in the mainstream, the deadstream corporate media. So I was there from the very beginning, and I didn't stay, continuously. I'm not trying to say I understand Standing Rock better than anybody or anything of that sort, but I definitely had a good balanced approach of beginning when it was starting out, very much in prayer and peace. Then in October, when it continued, very much in prayer and peace, but where things were getting a bit more intense and where there was starting to be battles between protesters, water protectors, and the police, and what we would later find out were undercover agents or provocateurs. So my point is, I learned a lot in this situation, and I don't think if you weren't there, I think it might be hard to really understand the value of what took place there. So I just want to go over that again and show you some of the videos. So these are different videos that I produced at the time. November 2016, HPD gets violent at Houston Stands with Standing Rock rally. Some of you may remember this, kind of on an unrelated but sort of related note. I was downtown Houston protest, and during the protest, the police got violent, and I filmed it, and somehow focus of the police, and they chased after me, and then within days, warrants were put out for me, and it turned into a 10-month-long court battle where I had to battle HPD. They claimed that I scratched one of their officers' thumbs, and they tried to put me in the county for 6 months, and thankfully I won. My peers said that the cops were full of shit. So back in November, though, we could see 167 protesters injured by police in battle at Standing Rock. Then Standing Rock eviction imminent. Then I talked about, for those who haven't heard me talk about Freedom Cells, I recommend checking out our Freedom Cells playlist. But it's the concept that we can have these decentralized, essentially community groups, neighborhood groups that can come together and support each other and defend each other in different ways that can be supportive outside of the corporations or outside of the government's hands. And I talked about how could you use a Freedom Cell in the Standing Rock situation. How could that, collaborate? And there's a lot to be gained there. But then also, I put this video out June 2017, a year after Standing Rock, exclusive provocateurs start fires at Standing Rock, 27th, 2016. And this was my second trip there. Now, many of you may remember that once the battle heated up, there was, I was there in person. There was news reports all of a sudden talking about it, saying, oh, the protesters are setting police vehicles on fire. And I was there when that happened. And it was an entirely set up event. It was completely set up and contrived. I literally watched the police and leave their vehicles there, these kind of Humvee type vehicles, on this bridge and then drive away. And then you see these people, these protesters who were dressed in all black, and they were kind of almost Antifa type style, and they didn't give a shit about the prayer and any of that sort of thing that, they were there just to fuck shit up. And so they're playing like Cop Killer, and they came in on like a truck. They all seem to know each other, and they're just basically saying, if you can't handle this, get back from the bridge, go away, go away. And I stayed there and I was filming. At one point I got surrounded by these people and they told me to turn off my camera. So I did, and I realized it was just not a safe place. So it shows the cops coming and leaving the trucks there for the people, and then those same protesters who were more violent and aggressive than any of the other people hop over there and start setting the vehicles on fire. I mean, it couldn't have been more planned. And months later, we found out with this other video right here from June 2017, the whistleblower confirms that DAPL Security set vehicles on fire. That was from an article that came out, confirming what I had already seen. And then we also heard that, undercover private intelligence agencies, namely this group Tiger Swan, was in with the local sheriff's department to infiltrate the movements in the camps and to create division, and just like total COINTELPRO shit that we've seen since the 50s, 60s, and 70s happening to this day. And this is just the reality of what was taking place back then. And so what I'm saying is, for those who really paid much attention or weren't there, I mean, it was a big battle for years. So whether it's the Dakota Access Pipeline or it's the Keystone XL Pipeline, completely against all pipelines in general, but we have to recognize that there's a danger here, and indigenous communities came together from around the world to oppose to say, we're not going to take it. And they literally put their bodies on the line in a way that I haven't seen any other movement do in a long time. Right here, over 380,000 gallons of Keystone Pipeline in North Dakota. This is why people are protesting these pipelines, because this shit happens and there's really no accountability. So, I mean, is there any wonder why people push back against these movements and these pipelines? Because this is what happens. We end up in a place where the environment gets fucked up, the land gets fucked up, and the earth is suffering. There's so much wrong with this situation. Fund this, for those of you who continue to use banks. The banks are the ones that help fund these pipeline projects, and that's why there was a big push during the Standing Rock time to pull people away from the banks, which is always a good idea. Look, you can be a lefty, a righty, whatever you want to say, but it's a good idea for us to lessen our dependence on the banks, and that's never going to be a bad move. So overall, I would say, 3 years out from Standing Rock, no, the pipelines weren't stopped. And yes, I know they're going to say, well, what about all the trash that was left there? I've heard that for years. But the reality is, friends, that the trash that was left there because they pushed the police, the protesters out immediately, and they wouldn't let them come back and, clean up. They wouldn't even gather all their shit to get out of there. It was basically just a complete push out and then blame it on the protesters, like you can imagine from these type of things. So, Standing Rock, one other topic. Well, I guess let's segue to that on the decentralized environmentalism topic for those who are tuned in. I know it's skipping, guys. I apologize. Thank you for listening. For those who are still hanging on, I'm going to figure out some better situation for live streaming for the future episodes. But decentralized, this is a topic that I've been wanting to speak on for a little while. So this topic, it relates to the issue of environmentalism and of decentralization, and how the mainstream movement towards environmentalism is anything but decentralized. It's anything but. The push that we're seeing is all about getting the government to be in control of resources, get the government in control, and getting the government control of so many aspects of private individuals' lives. And it's all being done with this idea that we can save the planet or protect the planet from climate change and global warming and things of this sort. And some people are getting involved, I'd say, from a noble standpoint and from a truly moralistic standpoint, that they have good intentions. But the reality is, when you start to understand the history of it, and that's for another video, and I've covered this in other the history of centralization and of giving government so much power, I think there's plenty of reasons to be skeptical and to see that while we for the environment, we can do this in a decentralized, voluntary fashion. And that's what I'm calling for. So decentralized environmentalism. What does a decentralized environmental... I've seen, because of the folks who are worried about United Nations Agenda 2030 and Agenda 21 and these... They sort of wholesale throw out anything to do with the environment. So if they hear the word sustainability, they're like, UN, the United Nations Agenda, population. And it's like, okay, I get you. But we have to talk about how can we live in a sustainable way and live to sustain ourselves and the coming generations. That's all it means. And even more so, some folks are talking about regeneration, not just sustaining, because that's regenerating certain systems that have been depleted and been destroyed. So I think that we can talk about sustainability, we can talk about regenerative systems, and we can do so in a way that doesn't have to involve state action. It doesn't have to involve putting the government in control of all aspects of our life. And that's what I'm talking about. And to me, this involves topics like permaculture. It involves things like freedom cells. And for us to make that happen, it has to be built from the bottom up. So we have to find a way, and I think the answer is freedom cells, building on the neighborhood level, on the local level, on the community level, to create change in a world, specifically by promoting localized, decentralized food production, promoting more community gardens, more urban farms, more things of this sort, and finding a way to shift to these things that they're essentially going to lock us out if and when the time comes that we're not playing their game. They will just lock us out of that system. And I think eventually they will use the social credit system to just completely, or people who are not a part of that system can't survive. So if we don't have decentralized hubs and communities to go against that and to compete with that, then I think we're going to be screwed. Honestly, I'm just saying, I think we're going to be screwed in the long term. So we have to be able to build the world that we are seeking outside of their hands. I think there might be a delay. I think there might be some problems with the stream. All right, well, if you can hear this, I'm going to go ahead and just end this here. Peace. Well, no. Looks like it's working. So I'll continue. All right. So I'm going to do one last story, guys, and then we will let things go for the day. And this is going to relate to 9/11. This is going to relate to Tulsi Gabbard and to, the truth about 9/11. That's what we're trying to get to. We're trying to get to a place where speaking the truth about 9/11 is not something that's going to get people thrown in a cage. That's not going to get people accused of, being a conspiracy theorist, where it's essentially become normalized, where people can actually discuss the truth about 9/11, discuss the fact that it's nearly been 20 years, but we've been lied to, and we continue on. We continue on and we continue searching for the truth. So it's going to happen. It's already started to happen thanks to the work of many different people who've been fighting for 9/11 truth over the last nearly 2 decades. It's becoming more of a okay topic to talk about when it comes to 9/11. And there are people, the family members, who have continued to fight and file lawsuits. And now you have Democratic presidential candidate Tulsi Gabbard, who's one of the people speaking up about 9/11 and standing with the victims of 9/11. And this topic is just something that's been extremely important to me since the beginning of my work. Because, we just don't know shit about 9/11. We've been lied to so much, right? We've been lied to for so long. And I've interviewed family members. I've interviewed, of course, the architects, engineers. I've interviewed people with opinions that don't necessarily line up with each other, people who disagree with each other, and talked about this 9/11 topic. And it's just so obvious that the American people have their head in the sand. They have no idea what the hell is going on. And most people don't even care. They don't care that the wars we're engaged in, or the illegal conflicts that the U.S. is engaged in, have no relation to and connection to 9/11. They just think that, something to do with 9/11, right? That's why we're over there, I thought. But we're going to go back to a story back in early October. Mainstream media finally exposes Saudi role in 9/11, asks why we're giving them. And I'll let you read this whole thing, but it's coming from a Fox News segment of Tucker Carlson, and I'm not a big fan of his or anything, but the point, chose to use his show to call out the FBI's silence on Saudi Arabia's role on 9/11. So I'm going to just drop that link in there with you guys real quick. And so, the reality is that other than the occasions like this, you're not going to see this mentioned in the mainstream. You're not going to see the fact that the Saudis and their Wahhabism as directly connected to the bin Laden family, and the bin Laden family is connected to the Bushes, and on, and Al-Qaeda is a creation of the CIA as well as ISIS. And, the United States, we know because of the release of the 28 pages, which is only a small portion of a much larger set of pages that were redacted after 9/11, classified after 9/11. We know that Saudi Arabia played a significant role in the 9/11 attacks. And I know there are some 9/11 researchers who think the Saudi sort of thread is just, distraction or disinformation to take away from the Pakistanis and the Israelis' role. I don't agree with that. I think it's definitely not just an Israeli operation. There had to be people within the U.S. government and what was going on, and who, people were ordered to stand down, people were ordered to take a blind eye. But we also know that the Saudis were a part of the whole operation. We know that the Pakistanis, at least official, wired money to the hijackers, and that the Israelis were seen celebrating and talking about carrying an operation like this. So there's a number of governments involved in this, and it makes sense. Andrew Maloney, an attorney for the 9/11 families, said, quote, Saudi intelligence who these two guys were. They knew who they were Al-Qaeda the day they arrived in LA. So any notion from the Saudi government saying, oh, we just help out here is false. They knew, and the CIA knew. And so it's continuing, to look into 9/11. And like I said, there's a Tucker Carlson report here, Saudi Arabia being sued for 9/11 attacks by victims' families. This is a story that I've been talking about since 2013, 2014, writing about it for years. I also want to show you this Voice of America news, which is, mainstream American news, basically the voice of the government. Lawsuit by relatives of 9/11 victims shakes loose name of Saudi mystery man. A member of the U.S. Army Old Guard stands on the relatives of the victim of 9/11 attacks who are suing Saudi Arabia for compensation obtained a coveted piece of information last week that they hope will strengthen their case. The FBI disclosed the name of a Saudi official who is believed to have helped 2 of the 19 hijackers who carried out the 9/11 attacks. The name included in a 2012 FBI report on suspected Saudi ties to the terrorists was released to the lawyers representing the families of nearly 3,000 victims of 9/11. The mystery man allegedly tasked to area before the 9/11 attacks to aid the other hijackers. So you can get more into that. And this is all just this was reported a week after 9/11, so slowly coming out. And then we have this one. Oops, you guys could hear that in the background the whole time. Sorry if that was the case. Tulsi Gabbard right here. She is speaking on Jimmy Dore recently, just a couple of days ago, and she's been pretty outspoken. She was at a press conference with of 9/11, talking about this situation, talking about Saudi involvement. And look, I don't think she's perfect. I'm not endorsing her, going to be voting for her, et cetera, et cetera. But she is, Donald Trump talked about he's going to get to the bottom of what happened with 9/11 and, release those pages, the secret pages and all this kind of stuff. And just like he mentioned, the Federal Reserve and other things, and then hasn't said squat about it since 9/11. In fact, he has only just expanded the relationship with the Saudis and with the Israelis and the people involved in 9/11. Hasn't, done any digging or exposing of any. Tulsi Gabbard is at least paying lip service to this, and she's been out there with the family members. Actually, she's not in, cryptic 4D chess language. She's speaking plainly about this topic, and I think that's the difference. So I just wanted to acknowledge that she's been out there talking about this, and that 9/11, we still don't know. So much is just completely hidden from us. We're in the dark with so many topics, people. I mean, I hope you guys understand this. So I'm going to catch up on some of the comments. Christopher Bolin is a great guy who knows about September 11th. Check him out. Johnny Angel, you're right about that. The thing is, look, I interviewed Christopher a couple years ago. That video was taken down by YouTube, and they removed it literally from our entire channel. It's still, you can find it if you search Derrick Broze, Christopher Bolin, BitChute. You'll probably find it there. They took it down off YouTube, so you won't find that here. My engineering friend from Hungary said he thought it was shady politics the day after seeing it on TV. Not just Saudi, but Israeli intelligence. Yep. Gotta go. Good luck. God bless. Okay. Saudis are privileged Semite thugs. All right. Trump talked to Alex Jones about dancing Arabs. Yeah, he tried to confuse the issue and talk about the dancing Muslims or the dancing Arabs, but it was the dancing Israelis. So, yeah. The other thing is, guys, one last closing story. I'm not sure if you saw this. Has closed the investigation on Epstein. Says that we got all the information we needed to know, and that there's no conspiracy theory here. It was the perfect storm for conspiracies for people who believe in that kind of thing. But the reality is there was nothing going on, guys. It's all good. It was just a bit of confusion and some lies, and mistakes were made. But it's there's nothing to see here. It's just That's all. So that's it, guys. Nothing to see here. Nothing else, no other questions to have. Epstein killed himself, and that's all there is to it, because Attorney General Barr says that's the case. And, well, he's Trump's man, so we got to trust him. And despite all the other questions surrounding the whole situation, that's it. So, I don't know, man. I don't know what to think about a lot of this. It's getting harder for people to tell what is fiction, what is truth. And I've been, since I've been diving back into kind of obsessive about looking at everything and trying to understand. And, this is one of the reasons I wanted to be in the army, be able to be mobile if necessary. Not because I'm preparing for doomsday or something like that, but I'm a minimalist, but I also like to, be on the go and travel. And this is pretty cool. But also part of it is because I see the way the world is going, and I'm not sure that I'm going to stay in the United States, because I think the 2020s to the 2030s are going to be one of the roughest decades that we've seen in a long time, because there's there is a perfect storm of technology, of totalitarian, authoritarian regimes, and of that mentality even catching on with the people. It's not just the governments that are acting in the totalitarian. The people have grown to be sort of accepting and supportive of that mentality, as long as it's used against their enemies. Like, we're okay with abusing other people as long as it's happening to the people we don't like, right? So we need to be skeptical of this push towards this, and also this increasing discussion around World War III, this push towards World War III. I don't want to buy into it. I see the division in some cases, but also I think that it's bullshit, guys. I think it's bullshit that it's a mentality that they're feeding into, and they're trying to get us to focus on division and separation and just this idea that the culture war is coming. And I don't believe it, guys. I don't believe it. And I want to ask you to be very heart-centered as much as possible, to work on your own traumas, your own doubts, fears, and insecurities, because that's where the trouble lies, because that's the real answer. Because as long as we allow ourselves to be manipulated, if we're not right within our own hearts and our own minds, and we allow our internal tyrant to be used and played against us, then perhaps we will buy into this idea that violence is the answer, and that smashing our enemies is the answer. And, it's only going to get, I think, more and more dangerous that way. We're going into the technocratic control grid. We're going into that area, whether we like it or not, and we have to oppose it. We have to find a way to combat it and to overcome it that doesn't involve giving up our rights and giving up our freedoms to this system. Because the technocratic control grid is being built. The social credit scores are coming. All this stuff is happening, and I think it's going to become more and more dangerous for us to express our opinion and to speak publicly about the things we care about. And even if you do continue to speak publicly about them, they're basically just going to push you to the side, to the fringes of society, to the outside world that doesn't want to live under the digital dystopia surveillance state. And I'm not interested in that. So I see the good of technology. I see the great possibilities and the potentials, but that's when technology is in the hands of decentralized thinking people, in the hands of the free people, in the hands of the state, the government, and these technocratic overlords, the big tech, big wireless, and their corporate government buddies. Then I don't see good things coming from that. I see that 1984 Brave New World dystopia coming, and I think it's up to us to be skeptical towards these devices and this technology, and to think and to think critically and to overcome these things and find the solutions. And that's also why, guys, as I said at the beginning of the show, my next documentary is called The 5G Trojan Horse. It will be in a few weeks, for sure, by the end of this year. And my next book is called Counter Economics: How to Opt Out of the Technocratic State. And it is going to be coming out by the end of the year as well. So it's going to give you solutions on how to circumvent and how to live in a free world without buying into this control grid, this smart city control grid. And if you're new to this topic, then I recommend going and checking out our 5G playlist, because I go through the health, the local concerns, the privacy concerns, the environmental concerns. I have interviews with experts, et cetera, et cetera. And yeah, I'm done now. I've been talking for about 45 minutes. If you want to rewatch this episode, please do. Forgive my, shoddy Wi-Fi. As I mentioned to everybody earlier, I'm living in my RV now, and the Wi-Fi is not the best, and I'm surrounded by Wi-Fi. That's the other thing, is I don't mind it in the RV. I'm kind of like in a little box with the Wi-Fi bouncing around me, so I got to figure out a solution soon. But In the meantime, guys, thank you for listening. Again, check out our Stream of Consciousness Empowerment new playlist that I made that has all of my Stream of Consciousness thoughts from over the years. Check out the recent episodes of the Conscious Resistance Live episode. I will be doing this every Friday or Saturday now, coming in the coming weeks, now that my campaign is over. We cover news, we cover important topics, and we discuss philosophy, and we take your questions. But I'm going to leave it there, guys. I got some stuff to get back to writing this book, get back to writing this script. Until next time, remember, you are powerful, you are beautiful, and you are free. Peace.